The Price of Fame, the movie coming out here in just a few weeks, and I know there's a lot of great feedback about your journey. I mean, how excited are you for this movie, and to really show everybody out there that there certainly is a price for fame.
Well, we're really excited about it. I mean, yeah, in all honesty, I had no idea that it would grow to get this much momentum. But the whole thing, I mean, I've been telling my story, in churches for years. But several years ago, I met Peter Fierro, who basically directed and filmed most everything. And Pete had contacted me to do what we call in wrestling a shoot interview. In other words, we're not going to be talking about wrestling storylines. We're going to be talking about real life. And anytime you start asking me about my real life, I'm going to start telling you what Jesus is doing in it. And in Pete's own words, at the time, he was the somewhat backslid son of a minister. And my story resonated with him. And he and I became friends. And, then for a little while, anytime I would come and be speaking somewhere in the New York area, he would come out and see me, and we just grew to be friends. And Pete's vocation is he does wedding and he does wedding video and photography. And so he documents weddings. And he said, I've never tried this before.
Oh, wow.
He said, but I would love to do a documentary piece on your story. And I said, wow, okay, let's go for it. And whatever you want to do. Then my son, Ted Jr., came along, and because Ted knows that I do a lot of speaking events. For almost 6 years, I was speaking for Promise Keepers Canada, all over Canada. And I do a lot of specific meetings. And so he said, let's tell the story, but let's tell it maybe through my eyes or the eyes of me and my younger brother, Brett. And that's what we did. And so the story, it speaks of the relationship between a man and his wife, between a man and his children. And it really is a story of personal redemption, the redemption of my marriage and the relationship that I have with my sons today. Yeah. And I think in my whole, it's family. And if you don't have family, and if you don't have that peace in your life, you don't have integrity in your life, then you really don't have anything that matters. And that's really the message that I want for people to be able to walk away from this movie. And we're excited about it. It's November the 7th. It's one day in select theaters all over the United States, 7 p.m. in your time zone. And I think you could go to thepriceoffame.com, or you can go to fathom.com and enter your zip code, and it'll show you what theaters it's playing at in your particular area.
Yeah, Ted, and it's fantastic. And certainly with your career, it spanned decades. WWE Hall of Famer, the $1 Million Champion, and on and on. And I thought it was very unique. And you mentioned the theaters where this is located. I did go to thepriceoffame.com and Fathom events, and actually put in the zip code, and there's a few theaters up in New York State, upstate New York. Ithaca, New York is playing it. Victor, New York is playing it. That's where I'm probably going to be going up there and seeing it. And I thought this was very unique in the sense that you guys, it's such a, where it's going to be playing, and how were you able to pull that off and able to get it in select theaters throughout the country?
Well, that's Fathom. That's what Fathom does, and the people that we went to that have helped market other very big faith-based movies. God's Not Dead, God's Not Dead 2, Fireproof, The Blind Side. They're the people that have helped us market this, and so Fathom came along, and really it's Fathom that makes the selection of the theaters across the country.
Wow, it's going to be special. Can't wait to see it. And this is a great time for professional wrestling and stories. Certainly in a few days, too, the Ric Flair story, 30 for 30, is coming out as well. So just an amazing time right now for guys of your caliber. But, what were some of the challenges going into making something like this? I mean, because when you kind of open that door up into the reality of your life. I mean, it's probably there were probably some trials and tribulations.
Well, the story is, like I said, I've been telling the story. I've been telling the story in churches and in rehab centers and in jails, prisons, and just about everywhere, but for 17 years. And so it's a story of the redemption of my marriage and my own personal redemption and the change in my life. But way back at the beginning, when this first all came out, my wife discovered that I was doing all the same crazy things everybody else was doing. She said, in spite of what you've done to me, you've always been a great dad. And she goes, I don't want to ruin that. Your boys hold you on a pedestal. And so she said, until they're old enough to understand this, they don't know it. Mm-hmm. And that's the way it was left. And so my boys didn't know anything about it until they were old enough to be sitting in church and with a congregation of people, and they hear me share the story. And so they had heard the story several times. And I just said, I'm going to let this, if they have more questions, they're going to come to me. Mm-hmm. And I said, I'll just let that happen at its own time. And what's funny is that when Pete decided he wanted to do the documentary and heard me speak about the importance of fathers, like 30% fatherlessness in America, and, we need more men to step up and be dads. There's a lot of single moms doing a bang-up job, but they shouldn't be. They shouldn't be single moms. And so even though my sons realized that, my wife and I get along, great now, and they didn't know that's when this all came to a front with them, and it's in the movie. And the good news is it's there's nothing out there. There's nothing that is hidden anymore. And it wasn't being hidden. It was just waiting for them to say, Dad, how could you do that? How could you do that? So it's very wrong, and but again, it's very good.
Excellent, Ted, and we can't wait to see it. And I know that anytime you open, anybody, certainly a filmmaker, production folks, into someone's life, and we've had the chance to do interviews over the years. Pro Wrestling Hall of Fame when it was in Amsterdam, New York, and then up at Hornell Sports Night just a couple of years ago, and a lot of great wrestling memories, though, that you put so much time, so much effort, your blood, your sweat, your tears, everything. When you look back on your wrestling career now, and obviously the WWE Hall of Fame being something for you that, certainly at the pinnacle, maybe at the top, when you look back at your career now, does it have more significance for you, and certainly of what you've learned now?
Well, it just, it's like people say, well, would you still have done it? And I go, yeah, I loved what I did. I loved wrestling, and it was just an extremely hard lifestyle. But, getting in, and there are things that you can do in your life in terms of, accountability. If you can make yourself accountable, and a lot of those things about accountability, even the WWE has grown, through this. The WWE has one of the best state of the art, like a drug testing policy, which is accountability. Mm-hmm. That all started. It started when I was there, but again, like any other company, they were growing, and there's been no different with the NFL or any other entity. So, and again, when I say the price of fame is whatever you make it. It's certainly not a knock on the WWE. I said I couldn't be more grateful to the WWE and Vince McMahon for the career that I had, and basically the platform I have now is so large because of that. which was my
Right.
job. And I said, well, yeah, it is a big thrill. I said, but when that show's over, you know, and I go back to the hotel and I have dinner, and then I go and I sit in my hotel room, and I've got four walls and a television, and then I do that the next day, and the next day, and the next day, and I'm doing that 3 weeks out of every month, which is the nature of the beast. You know, that's when all those other things start happening if you don't build those safeguards into your life. And, you know, those are the things that I would change.
Right.
But again, it's not as glamorous as most people think. You know, for everything you see that's good, there's also in any occupation in life, you got to accept the bad things along with the good.
Right, absolutely, Ted. And, you know, you mentioned some of the glamorous things, and I can remember the speech you gave up here in New York State just a few years ago about, you know, how it was a difficult job where Vince McMahon said, hey, we're going to fly you first class. You're going to have a limousine everywhere you go. You're going to eat the best meals every single night. You're going to live the role of the $1 million man. And you said it was a tough role to play.
Well, you know, I say that facetiously. It's like, you know, that's like when you pinch yourself and going, man, is this really happening to me? And, you know, and a lot of questions, I get a lot of questions sometimes. This question is like, did you have heat in the dressing room? In other words, here you are getting a special treatment and nobody else is getting. And in reality, I did, maybe there might have been some resentment, you know, but I think the fact that when I went out in the ring and I produced, that, you know, my work spoke for itself. So if anybody would say, well, you know, if I the same break, so there really wasn't a lot of dissension. And again, you know, most of that, you know, that was done at the beginning, like in the first year with the limousine over time and everything. And then after that, you know, then it was just the special shows and the big events and things like that. You know, we didn't do that from 1987 to 1993.
Right.
So it was just to get that character over. But wow, it was one side.
It certainly was. And, you know, was there a particular time, certainly in the boom and the fever pitch of you know, of the 1980s and in the 90s, was there a guys, my goodness, this is really to a whole nother planet of how the success is going, you know, with the WWE at the time. Was there any particular, I guess, run maybe? Obviously, WrestleMania 4 and SummerSlam 88, teaming with Andre, those are some huge moments for you.
The whole nation know about Dibiase, I think, was wrestling Harley Race, Kiel Auditorium, St. Louis for the NWA World Heavyweight Championship. And then, you know, we're going to be, you know, he's going places. You know, I went to Mid-South and became a heel and had an unbelievable run with the guy they call the Junkyard Dog. And,
Oh, yeah.
that was the beginning of me being the bad guy. And that began that run. And then going to the WWF, you know, when they did the Market Square Arena events, when we took the place of Saturday Night Live on NBC, it was the first time that professional wrestling had been seen on live national network television since the 1950s. And the main event was Hulk Hogan and Andre the Giant. But the story was me. The story was, I've hired Andre. He's going to beat Hogan. I'm going to buy the world title. Savage, and, you know, that was another highlight. You know, that's the first time Randy and I had ever wrestled. And we had a heck of a match. And, you know, he becomes the champion, much to everybody's surprise. And then we go all over the country, me and Andre against Hulk and Randy and Hulk and a number of people. And, yeah, those are major highlights in my career.
Excellent, Ted. And I know that, you know, people, they always look at, you know, your career and your highs and certainly your lows. But, you know, the $1 million belt was so special and it was so unique, so different. it sets you apart. And certainly there was the time where, the storyline was that you were going to actually buy the WWE Championship belt, but you ended up creating the $1 million belt, which was so incredibly unique. What are your best memories and thoughts of the $1 million championship? It was, like you said, it was a tough role to play.
Well, you know, initially, the thought was that at WrestleMania 4, I somehow, through my scheming and money, find my way to the title, and then I go have the run with Hulk Hogan, and then eventually, obviously, he gets the title back, and he goes on to the next opponent. But I think it was Pat Patterson who suggested to me, he said, Teddy, what if you don't win the tournament? And in your arrogance, you create your own championship belt, declare yourself the champion, and you wear it to the ring every single night. And as soon as he said it, I said, let's do it. Because that put so much heat on me. The arrogance of a guy to go out, create this bigger than life, belt, and then just declare himself champion, regardless of what the WWF had to say. It's just, it's like it just made people hate me all that much more. And so it really was a stroke of genius. And of course the belt, they didn't, they spent some money to have that belt made. I mean, it's in '88. They said its estimated value was $40,000. All the stones in the belt,
wow,
are cubic zirconium, so they're not diamonds, but they're almost diamonds. And so 700 stones, and I think it's like back then $50 a piece. And of course, the jeweler who designed the belt and put it together, and all those stones were set just like you'd have to set a stone in a ring.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's tedious work. So then you fast forward to today. Just recently, I was told that in today's economy, that belt would be worth $200,000.
Man, that's a lot of money right there for a belt.
And they have it. It's in the safe in Stamford, Connecticut.
It's probably a good place for it, at this point. But obviously, looking back at so many great times, the belt. I mean, it was a character that stands the test of time. The $1 Million Man, Ted DiBiase, and of course the trademark laugh. Was that just something that you had in your arsenal as a performer, as a character, or was it that something that was, say, hey, try to develop a laugh from maybe a production standpoint?
Well, it really is. It's one of those things that happened. We used to do our interviews, and we would do them for individual markets. So, me and Gene Okerlund would sometimes, everybody couldn't get all interviews done at the TV, so they would come to where we were, like, okay, we're going to be in such and such a town at this hotel, and they would soundproof a room. But this was actually at a TV location, and I'm doing my interviews with Gene, and I just happened to end the interview, and I laugh like it's an exaggeration of the way I normally laugh. And so Vince just happened to be walking by and heard me, and he stuck his head in the door, and he looked at me and said, Dad, that is the $1 Million Man. He had a big grin on his face. And he says, I want to hear that laugh on every promo. And so it was, again, it was the genius of Vince McMahon and marketing one of his characters. And so I tell everybody now, I said, nearly 20-year wrestling career, what does everybody remember me for? Big laugh.
It's a trademark. It really is. And history was made when that laugh was done, Ted. There's no doubt about that. And I think that, and that's essentially how you ended your Hall of Fame speech with WWE as well. Just so well done, and the money came down afterwards. But just a couple more quick questions, and of course we'll plug the movie once more at the end. But one of the things that people sometimes they forget about is that after your wrestling in-ring career, you were in the NWO, You introduced some great things with WCW, but also you managed Stone Cold Steve Austin as the ringmaster.
That's correct. That was one of the things. Like when I physically stopped wrestling, and I was gone for a while. When I came back, I actually came back. Vince wanted me to do color commentary with him. I think at the Royal Rumble, and I did that. And he said, "You know what? First time out, you did a pretty good job." And I told him, I said, I'd like to give it a go. And if you want me to come back in a managing role, I'm more than open to it. And that's what he did. And so, he put me, or he put Steve with me. Of course, back then, what we call it the rub. You got a guy coming up who you see the talent and you rub him up against somebody that's red hot or that has been big to help elevate him. And that's what that was. That was for. And so, I mean, I saw Steve's talent, but I don't think anybody envisioned, that he would become the icon that he has. And just stellar career, unbelievable.
Yeah, wasn't it considered that you were going to be the mouthpiece, right, for Steve Austin, for Stone Cold, and certainly they didn't even tap into the full resource of what he was at the time.
Yeah, I mean, I did a lot of talking for him, but as he went along, he just blossomed. It just became natural.
Right.
And I said, you got to be you. I mean, I remember there were a lot of agents, I think, at the time that were telling him, that he, in terms of what he was doing in the ring, and something like, like you need to do more. And I said, you know what, Steve? Here's my advice. I said, don't change anything. It's because you come across very real. And I said, it may take you a little longer to get over, but once you're over, you're over. And then you do whatever you want. And that's exactly what he did.
And like you said, Ted, Stone Cold's career is certainly iconic in wrestling and entertainment at this point. And I know that one of the things I wanted to ask you, too, as well, is the product has changed. All different promotions, the digital platforms now, technology has certainly changed everything. With the internet and wrestling rumors and everything else in between. It's a different caliber of performer now as compared to when you guys had the territories. What are some of the things that you like seeing, but what are also some of the things that you wish kind of never changed about today's performers?
Well, everything changes and everything evolves, and I'm not there, every day to see it, and there's a lot of reasons why things are done, and a lot of reasons that I probably not understand or see. All I know is what I hear fans say to me. Of course, again, the fans that come to see me are fans that were fans that were fans of my era, and those fans oftentimes will say it's just not the same show anymore. It's just, as far as we're concerned, it's just it's too much talk and not enough wrestling. And a lot of times, I would agree with that. But again, I'm not there. I know that they have a whole new fan base. They have a whole new generation of young people. WrestleMania has become a brand.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it sells out. Everywhere it goes now, every year, and so they're making more money than they made when I was there. So you can't knock success. But again, I'm old school.
Right.
I like to do things the way I did. It's like I don't know. It just seems like there's no real heavy bad guy. There's just shades of gray.
Mm-hmm.
You got your heels, your good guys, your bad guys, but and of course, a lot of that may be, the WWE is now a publicly owned company.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe there are things that they can and they can't do with the wrestling for that reason. Again, the reasons I don't know. I'm just sharing with you what fans share with me. I know a lot of fans really love the said, like we like that even more than we like much Raw sometimes. So um, again, I'm old school, so I think that way.
Yeah.
It's like, I just don't. I don't want to be a guy that's, like I said, I'd never be that guy that said, "Oh no, yeah, yes, it's just changed and it's not as good." And it's like, you know what? I'm grateful. I'm grateful for what the company's done for me. I still carry the banner. As a matter of fact, I'm going to be in New York I think next Wednesday.
Mm-hmm.
The company that the new K2 video game.
Oh yeah.
That game is coming out, and I'm going to be representing the company at the WWE at a company party. So I'm still carrying the banner for the company.
Yeah, and that's got to be so surreal too. And obviously, you've been on several of those platforms, the video game platforms, and things like that. It's I think Nintendo in late '80s, with the WrestleMania arcade game, certainly that came out, and that's got to be so surreal looking to see your likeness on a video game, and to still be represented today. And I mean, it speaks volumes about your career.
Well, yeah, it is. It's just crazy. It's amazing. I mean, and it speaks to the skill of Vince McMahon in terms of marketing this product. A year ago, I was in Europe, and I was going to be there. I went over there for 2 Comic-Cons. I was going to be in Sheffield, England, one weekend, and the following weekend in Glasgow, Scotland, signing autographs at the Comic-Con. And so I went into a store. I mean, their equivalent of like a Walmart, where they had a little bit of everything, because I was going to be there for so long.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And so a little boy's walking out. I mean, I'm talking about a kid that's 7 or 8 years old. He's with his grandmother, got him by the hand, walks by me and goes, "Grandma, that's the $1 man." And I went, "No way." And I turned around, I looked at him, I said, "Son, you know who I am?" And he said, "You're the $1 man, aren't you?" And I said, "Yes." I said, "But how do you know me?" He said, "The network and video games."
Wow.
Yeah. It's like, it's like I'm twice as old. I was in my 30s, now I'm 63,
mm-hmm.
and I'm wearing glasses, and I don't have blonde hair anymore. And I was like, "You recognize me? No way." It's incredible. It's incredible. And I went to New Zealand and Australia on a couple of different occasions, and it was the same thing there. I mean, I never wrestled over there ever, but I mean, people on the street would come up and recognize me and want to take selfies.
Wow.
It's just incredible. And the other thing I heard that at least half of the crowd at WrestleMania at the live event are from foreign countries, and people that have flown in from around the world. So it's they're doing something right.
Yeah. Boy, the reach and the impact that a WWE superstar, a WWE legend, Hall of Famer like you, I mean, the reach it's certainly far-reaching, and it's impactful, and it's memorable. And you mentioned some of those moments, and I was able to kind of, for the fans right now on WrestlingInc.com, I wanted to mention this, and I was able to tell you this story up at Hornell when you were up there. I was probably 5, 6 years old. You guys used to come down to Binghamton, New York, do some live events down there, and when I grew up as a kid, we had 3 TV stations. It was fuzzy TV. That's all we had. We didn't have cable, no satellite back then, and we were able to get wrestling. And we saw on the TV that you guys were coming to wrestling down in Binghamton, and you had the limousine in the back after the show was done, and my dad and my mom were kind enough to kind of take us back, towards the exit where you guys were getting in your limousine, and you had signed some autographs at that point. It's got to be 1991, I think, and my dad, I think you kind of looked at my dad because you were getting hounded by fans in the back, and my dad actually kind of acted as your as your mock security guard for a second. Says, hey, let him get in his car. Let the man get in his car. And he held his hands back. and and he signed his autograph sheet, and we were hooked from that point on. But it was that one chance moment that you gave us that I'm always going to remember. And thank you for that. That was an amazing moment.
Well, that's just it. Yeah, it's like the only time I was all out $1 million man was, basically, I go in the building and I'm the guy, and I go out of the building. That's funny. A lot of those times, and I've said this too. There've been times when I'd be walking into a coliseum or something, and the kids are yelling at me, flipping me the bird, telling me how bad they hate me. But then after the show, some of those same kids will be in the lobby of the hotel because they find out what we were saying, and they've got their autograph pads, and I was like, I'm taking kids' autograph pads, I'm signing autograph pads. I said, wasn't it you that was cussing me just 2 hours ago?
Yeah.
And they go, oh, no, it wasn't me, it was somebody else.
That was my friend. That wasn't me.
Yeah, right.
It's just one of those things. But
it's amazing.
But Ted, I want to say thank you for everything today, for taking the time for us. And once again, November 7th, The Price of Fame. Any final thoughts about this movie and how fans and movie lovers alike need to go see it?
Well, I just want to encourage you to go and take a friend. And again, I am obviously I'm a Christian, I'm a minister, I'm a man of faith. But even if you aren't, there's something for you in this documentary, because it's about, there is redemption, there is a second chance if you're willing to look for it, if you're willing to work for it, and there are things in life that are much more important and valuable than fame and money and power and prestige, character, integrity, and family. Those things are far greater, in my opinion, based on the experience of my life. And I hope that you get a chance to see it.
Wonderful, Ted. And now, obviously, the movie is going to be special. We're excited. Last thing, got to end this out in style, $1 Million Man, Ted DiBiase style. And, the old saying was, everybody's got a price for the $1 Million Man. And I guess if people don't go to see it, what's their price?